Hello, adventurers. Before we get into this week's horror story, I thought I'd just pop in and fill you all in on what's going on behind the scenes. I know we missed a few episodes recently, and that is 100% my fault. Me, Jason, I'm sorry. I've had some health issues this month that kept me from doing anything fun. I'm fine now, so please don't worry about me, but I had to prioritize my time to things that either make me healthier or get my rent paid. It also worked out that some of the other curmudgeon schedules were just a little tight and not quite lining up right, so a little breather from recording and editing turned out to be necessary. We're going to take another little bit before we start recording regularly again, so we'll try to use the rest of this month to record enough so we have some episodes in the can. I'd much rather take a small break than be inconsistent, you know what I mean? Thank you so much to everyone who has left reviews and sent us messages recently. We do see them all, and they really make us want to keep doing this show. I'll make sure we have some new content soon, but until then, please enjoy this horror story episode that we had already recorded that can finally get released. Everybody roll initiative.
Sometimes everything goes according to plan. Sometimes they go horribly. Join us while we tell tales of games gone wrong. This is Curmudgeons and Dragons RPG Horror Stories.
Hello, adventurers, guys. Hello, and welcome to another Curmudgeons and Dragons. I'm Jason Portizo. Today, I am joined by Mr. Greg Genovis.
Hello, hello.
And reading us a horror story today, Mr. Jim Crocker is here.
Yes, hello. Happy autumn, everybody.
It's weirdly warm out there. I had lunch outside today. It was great.
Oh, maybe I'm just far enough north from where you are in Jersey that it's been pretty chilly here in Morristown. So, yeah. You're down by
sucks.
the shore.
So why don't you read us? You got a story for us today, Jim?
The horror story is not the weather, alas. This comes to us from the RPG Horror Stories Reddit, posted by user Blackcat, that's BLAK_KAT11. And this is called, quote, "We don't think you're going to stay," quote, close quote, unquote, close quote, I guess. And my wife would tell me that that's close quote, not unquote.
End quote.
So, end quote. There we go. End quote works. Here we go. I was jonesing to play D&D for a while, and none of my older friends played anymore because of life/careers/kids, etc. I looked up some local hobby shops here on Long Island. And if you're from around here, you know that that's Long Island.
That's the correct pronunciation, yes.
True.
Guyland, Long Island.
Long Island.
Yes, yeah. Here on Long Island, I found one, and I'm going to start talking like I'm my uncle from Greenlawn. But so I found one and called, asking when their D&D night was. I went down there on a Thursday and sat in on the game. Everyone seemed pretty cool at first, and I rolled a classic gnome wizard. I was really under-leveled from the rest of the party. A little bit of a red flag right there, just to kind of off the jump. But they seemed to just be getting into it. Came the next week and sat in. The DM said he might be leaving DMing. I said, okay, I will play with you guys until it ends. Just looking to get my feet wet. The rest of the group showed, but I felt there was a weird vibe. I rolled with the punches as always, happy I was just rolling dice. Then the DM gets up, walks me to the register close to the door and tells me, hey, we're wanting people to join the game to stay. We don't think you're going to stay, so you should just leave now. He also informed me that the game was $5 per session, and last week was a free week, and the red flags multiply. I got angry, but kept my cool. However, I did put my older person with a career who knows bad customer service when he sees it hat on. I slowly stated that my word is my bond, and when I said I was staying, I meant it, but this is no way to keep players. I proceeded to admonish him for trying to walk good, paying customers out the door, and how that was bad for business, especially on expensive-ass Long Island. And that is true. Long Island is an expensive place to live, for across most of the length of the island. I then turned to the man who turned out to be the owner and asked to buy a DM's guide, pulled out a wad of cash, paid for the book, and said, oh yeah, keep the change. It should pay for my game. I'll brush up on this and might think about running a game since you said you were leaving soon. To the DM, who was too busy staring at his shuffling feet. Next thing you know, a world pandemic hit, and last I heard, the store shut down because the lockdown murder hoboed a lot of stores out here on expensive-ass Long Island. Also true. I'm not happy the store closed. I hate seeing any business fail. However, I did get asked to join my friend's Starfinder campaign and have been enjoying that so far. Scratching the itch, I am still considering DMing. And this one was
just bad business. What that is,
it's bad business. It's a thing that the hobby has to reckon with, which is the difference between people who are actually, no kidding, professionally running games and people who are doing it as a hobby and for fun, and how fuzzy that line gets at places like game stores and cons and, even like some meetup groups and things like that. And, what it means when you're paying for it. Does that mean the store was charging, or is that just the DM that wanted $5 for it? And like, there's a few unanswered questions I have because there's a couple of details I'm not entirely clear about, but that sounded like it may have just been the guy running the game saying, you got to pay.
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, no, this was...
in the story, at least, was there any indication that he was just there temporarily?
Who was just there temporarily?
The OP.
No, it sounded like he said he wanted a game. He wanted to get into an ongoing regular game. That's a thing that some people do. That's a place where you can find you can find tables. You can find people playing regularly. There's one of the things about Long Island is, like, if you don't own a house of your own, it is a pain in the ass to get around on Long Island. And so if you've got a game store that's running games that can where people can gather and play, that should be a cool thing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see where the logical jump was to, we don't think you're going to stick around.
I think it was when he said, yeah, I'll play until you stop DMing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll play with you guys until it ends, is what he said.
Oh. Then yeah, I don't know.
To me...
But the DM was the one that was leaving. Like, it's all just such misguided rage.
Oh, yeah, no. And it's weird. And I also wonder if this is, because the other thing that can happen in some of these games, sometimes in these public games, and we've talked about this in context of like those kind of LARP style games, like where you join and it's really somebody else's game, but like they need somebody for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. And I wonder if there might be a little of that going on here. That thing where it's like, every week they play like clockwork, but, whoever normally plays their wizard was gone for 3 weeks. So like, yeah, sure, dude, you can sit down and play with us for a little while. But then,
maybe.
They knew that next week their regular guy was coming back and they didn't need to, And there's also a whole lot of this kind of thing where, clearly there was no session zero. There was no kind of onboarding whatsoever. There was no, here's our safety tools. Here's what we, here's the kind of game it is. Here's the tone and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of these things turn into like auditions that you don't tell the person is an audition, or like an interview that they don't know is an interview, that kind of thing. And that can be really frustrating if you're the person who just thinks they're just sitting down to play D&D, when in fact, whatever, the DM has some kind of checklist of like, well, they better be like this and like this and like this, or they can't play. But they don't tell you that. Right.
And it's also the possibility that, like, we don't know how that game went. And, maybe even if what I'm about to say is true, he went about it the wrong way, but like maybe the player wasn't a good fit, or like maybe it went beyond, like, did he show up stinking up the joint? Like I've seen some players do in some game stores. Like, no, we don't know that he's 100% innocent in this, but regardless, that is the wrong way to handle it.
Yeah. The other thing that I wonder is he talked about putting on his "I'm an adult with a job" hat. And like, this could have been like a bunch of like late teens and 20 somethings. And this is like, a dude in his 30s sits in on that game with a bunch of people that are a decade or more younger than him. And he's the only one. I don't, but again, this is one of those ones where like the brevity of the story is great because we can get through it, but it does leave some unanswered questions about exactly where some of those, fault lines might lie.
Of course. But either way, this is going to lead us right into, I think, the episode we are going to do next. We are going to get into some of the pitfalls and some of the great reasons why you should seek them out. But we're going to talk about some public games and kind of what goes on there and how they're different from games with your friends at your dining room table. So I don't want to get too much into that on this episode because we're going to do a whole thing on that in the next episode. But that is an example of what, and again, with incomplete information, I don't really know who's the asshole here.
Yeah. And man, like just, this is just one of those horses where like, it feels just like communication just broke down just everywhere. Like between the players, the DM wasn't communicating clearly. That player was, like maybe not entirely clear about what they wanted out of the game. The game store owner certainly seems like they were kind of AWOL and just letting people do stuff. So that's just a whole lot more communication needed, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're all guilty of that.
That store closing is not exactly like a shocking twist. That's all I'm going to say about that, based on on what little we know about them from that story.
Right. Like, even if the owner was like a kind of a bystander in this particular story, being this kind of hands off and letting your DMs kind of dictate who does and doesn't hang out in the store is bad for business. Mm-hmm. So even if they weren't directly the problem in this, the game store owner could have suggested another table, could have started another game, could have talked to the player about what kind of games are you looking for? We can start something up.
Yeah, that kind of confusion about who's an employee and not, and how much authority they have, and the fact that player invoked customer service says that he saw that as a store transaction, and I bet you that DM has no sense of that as being, a store transaction, right?
Yeah.
So that's something they need to figure out for sure.
Well, this is something we're going to dive in on. Like I said, I think it's going to be the next episode. So let's put a pin in some of that. The story itself, nice, quick in and out story. You'll love to see it sometimes.
And a happy ending because he found a good game. So there we go.
Yes. It ended well. So all's well. All right. Greg, Jim, thanks so much. I'm Jason. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
See you later, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to Curmudgeons and Dragons. Please share this with your favorite adventurers and leave a review. If you have a tale we should tell, please send it to us at curmudgeonsanddragons.com/contact for consideration. You are now out of initiative.
This has been a JTB Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.